Second reading of the Conversion Therapy Prohibition Sexual Orientation and Gender Identity Bill. Baroness Burt of Solihull.
Thank you. My Lords, I beg to move that this bill be now read a second time. My Lords, I'm very grateful to all the noble Lords who've given up their Friday to attend this second reading. I will be referring to the LGBT plus community as a whole. But in the light of recent events, I do ask noble colleagues to be respectful when referring to trans people, to remember that they are people who struggle with discrimination in their lives. Yeah. And that their friends and families who love them are also affected by the words of politicians. So my aim today is to tease out the arguments, but because of the high numbers of colleagues who are wishing to speak today, I'd be very grateful if noble Lords could resist the temptation to repeat points already made by other colleagues. I knew you'd like that one. This bill is deliberately couched in general language so that we can build on the discussion today to bring forward amendments to make it stronger and more acceptable to more colleagues and external groups. The first thing to define is what we mean by conversion therapy, because in reality, my Lords, it's not therapy at all. As defined in my bill, conversion therapy is any practice with the predetermined purpose of changing or suppressing a person's identity and their expression of their sexual orientation or gender identity. These practices are based on the belief that there is a right way to behave, to live your life. According to the government's own research, 7% of LGBT plus people in the UK have undergone or been offered conversion therapy. For trans people, this escalates to 1 in 7. Although the experts agree, and this is confirmed by a thorough government research review, conversion therapy does not work because a person cannot be cured of their sexual orientation or gender identity. It is not a lifestyle choice, but something innate. It's who and what we are. What these practices do achieve, however, is deeply harmful to the recipient. It was summarised eloquently by the UN Independent Forensic Expert Group, who concluded that all practices attempting conversion are inherently humiliating, demeaning, and discriminatory. They generate profound feelings of shame, guilt, self-disgust, and worthlessness, and the consequences can be grave. One 2020 study found that people who have undergone conversion therapy were twice as likely to have suicidal thoughts and 75% more likely to plan a suicide attempt than the general population. We cannot leave the LGBT plus community unprotected against these harms for any longer. In 2018, Theresa May recognised this, promising a ban and receiving cross-party support when she did. But more than 5 years on, we're still no closer to making that a reality. I'm particularly looking forward to hearing what the Noble Lady the Minister has to say today, because it's in her government's gift to help progress this bill forward. After 5 years of dither and delay, it's well overdue, my Lords. Now, many people have written to me with their concerns, and I expect that we will hear some of those repeated in the Chamber today. I want to address these as best I can, and I'd like to thank everyone who wrote to me, as well as the professional bodies whose expertise I've leaned on. At the heart of this issue, I think most of us agree on an awful lot. I believe there's a great deal of consensus that it is wrong to force anyone to be something that they are not. As I see it, there are 4 themes of objections to the bill. From those who fear that their right to free speech will be lost. From religious practitioners who fear they will be criminalised for preaching and teaching that LGBT practices are wrong. From professionals who work with people who may be questioning their sexuality or gender identity, like psychiatrists and teachers. And from parents who fear that they won't be able to talk to their children openly about these issues. When you boil it all down, these all raise the same question. Where do we draw the line on what is criminalised? When does a conversation become a conversion practice? There are many people, particularly young people, who may be wondering about themselves. It's not always straightforward to understand your sexuality or gender identity, and grappling with these topics can be confusing and even distressing. What these people need isn't a cure, but a space and support to work things out. This may take the form of speaking with a trusted adult, like a mentor or a counsellor, to explore their own feelings in a non-judgmental way. But the difference between that and conversion therapy is that the latter has a predetermined goal to change that person. And I want to make it clear, my bill won't criminalise these sorts of open conversations in any way, nor will it tell people what to think or what to say. Freedom of speech and religious freedom are important cornerstones of any liberal society. And as a Liberal Democrat, I've always championed these values. And the last thing I'd want to do is to unduly curb anybody else's rights. So you're free to say what you believe. The rules are the same on free speech here as anywhere else in British law. You're entitled to express an opinion, not to coerce somebody else into agreeing with you and changing their behaviour as a result. My little bill team and I had an excellent meeting with the Bishop of London last week, who used the phrase, good prayer, putting the pastoral needs of the person first, accepting them for what they are and not trying to push your beliefs on who you think they ought to be. Yesterday, the Church of England issued a new briefing on reflection on conversion therapy. I think it's excellent, and I would urge anyone with concerns in this area to have a look. The Church of England, the Methodist Church, the Quakers, the Hindu Council and the Buddhist Dharma Centre have already supported a ban. We see it in the medical field too. Through a memorandum of understanding, all major psychological therapy professional bodies in England, alongside the Royal College of Psychiatrists, Royal College of GPs and NHS England, have agreed a set definition of conversion therapy, the same one that we have adopted in this bill. And that's why, before any attempt to prosecute, this bill would require police to demonstrate both action and motivation to be present. My Lords, I appreciate that these are complex topics, which I look forward to exploring in detail at committee stage. I'm very open to any amendments which don't undermine the effectiveness of the ban. It must be comprehensive, clear and inclusive of all LGBT+ people. My Lords, I hope that we can find it within ourselves to come together this morning and find a way forward. to deliver the change the LGBT plus community so needs.
Very good.